But we're going to start talking about this. This is where the rubber meets the road, right? I mean,
absolutely.
With this next category, I mean, you know, we're talking the pass game versus Notre Dame's pass defense, and you know, this is where the game's going to be won and lost. I mean, right? I mean, if we're talking this side of the ball, this is where you know, you want to talk about a commitment. You know, obviously USC has a commitment to throw the football. That's how they're going to throw the ball, overrunning the ball every single time. There is no question about it. And Notre Dame has shown some cracks in the armor when it comes to, you know, the pass game. If you're talking about anybody other than you know, Kyle Hamilton or Cam Hart. You know, and look, USC watches film. You know, they pay attention. They know what guys they're going to need to go after. And in this game, I'm going to be interested to see, you know, what Marcus Freeman's adjustments are going to be to, you know, the multitude of wide receivers that are going to be on the field. Is he going to put another defensive back on the field? Are we going to see more Ramon Henderson? Could we possibly see one of the freshmen, you know, get out there and get a little bit of playing time? This would be an interesting spot to, you know, put a freshman in. I mean, you're talking a night game at home against a team that wants to throw the ball all over the place. Yeah. I'm interested to see if that happens. But I fully expect Cam Hart to do his thing. I fully expect them to move Kyle Hamilton around. I think you're going to see him in some man-to-man, you know, situations, depending on, you know, maybe in the slot. I wouldn't mind seeing him go to the outside, maybe even, and then bring, you know, a DB covering the, you know, the slot. And this is also, and I'm kind of hitting all the different points here, but this is also a spot where, you know, Houston Griffith is going to have to step up. You know, he's been okay. He's been okay, but he's going to have to step up here, and he's going to have to make some plays in this game.
I asked someone the other day, I'm glad you brought Houston Griffin up because I think this is a big game for him. I said, we haven't heard a lot. We haven't heard his name a lot. And I don't know if that's good or bad.
Right.
Right? Like, has he been solid? I think in Virginia Tech game, he definitely missed some tackles coming down into the box. And I thought the first 3 to 4 games, I thought he played really well.
Yeah.
If you look at this Wisconsin game, he played fantastic. You know, he didn't flash. He didn't have one of the interceptions, but he played very well.
I agree.
And you move from that, you look at Virginia Tech, I was a little disappointed with the way he played in that game. As I said, I just thought the whole entire defensive unit was a little tired and a half a step slow that game and didn't react to certain things and certain situations. And kudos to Justin Fuente and that staff for understanding how to attack Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman's defense from a situational standpoint. Now, you talk about Drake London, Gary Bryant, Malcolm X at tight end, Malcolm Epps at tight end, and then Michael Triggs, the freshman, highly touted freshman. He's dealing with a knee issue. I'm not sure he's going to be back this week, even though he had an extra week, an extra bye week to get healthy. I still don't think he plays. But like you said, it's going to be a lot of 4 wide, you know, 13, Malcolm Epps and Gary Bryant like to work the middle of the field. So for me, it's all about, do you shut down Drake London or do you just basically tell them you're going to have to go to Drake London all night? I think Drake London 2 games ago had something like 15 receptions.
Crazy.
On 20 targets. That's insane.
Yeah, the fact that he was targeted 20 times is insane.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's insane. But I think it was Utah that pretty much said, look, we're going to take Bryant and Epps away. We're going to take your safety nets away over the middle and force Keegan Slovis, who's a little less efficient as a quarterback, throwing outside the hashes. And we're going to keep a safety over the top so Drake London can't get the big plays. But if he wants to get these little 5-yard hitches and maybe a slant or two, we'll give him that. And we're going to force Graham Harrell to be patient as a play caller.
Which he's not good at.
He's not good at. So this is the chess match that's going to be going on between Marcus Freeman and Graham Harrell, especially with it being 42 degrees and we talked about the wind. How does that play? How does that impact USC's passing game? All of that comes – drop passes. When it's cold, it's not easy to catch passes and 40 degrees as it is and 80
Yeah.
degrees out of the LA Coliseum. All of that is going to be a factor come Saturday night. And for me, USC also, they just implode from a penalty standpoint. We have to throw that in there.
Yeah.
With the rush offense and the pass, doesn't make a difference. Offensive line, false starts, illegal men downfield, holding. Whatever penalty the offensive line can get, USC finds a way to put it on the ledger each and every week. They just find a way. They just grab it out of nowhere. Like, I didn't even know that penalty existed for the offensive line. They just grab it, and they always find themselves second and long, third and long, and that's why they haven't been able to put up the points that might match the yards that they're putting up, especially in the passing game. And they've been terrible, especially in the passing game when it comes to the red zone, right? Because now the area is more condensed.
Right.
You can definitely double Drake London in the red zone. You take him away. Now you have to go to option 2 and 3, and then you just refuse to run the ball.
Right.
You just refuse to run the ball. And to go to your point, I'm very interested in the composition of the nickel.
Yes, absolutely.
What type of nickel is Marcus Freeman going to come out with? Is he going to add another young cornerback? Is he going to add a safety? Is he going to bring DJ Brown in and then use Kyle Hamilton in the slot against either Epps or Bryant? However he uses that is going to be very interesting to see how he attacks the multiple wide receiver sets and the bunt sets that Graham Harrell likes to go to with the passing offense at USC.
No, that's a really good point. And, one of the things that we've knocked some of the linebackers for is some of their drops, right? Sometimes they've been good at it, but sometimes they just look a little bit lost too.
Yeah.
And, Bo Bauer specifically, he comes in the nickel and his drops have been rough at times.
Yeah.
And so that worries me a little bit. Are you going to continue to go with that personnel grouping against, this USC team? Because look, you're probably going to be in nickel an awful lot. It's not going to be just a third down situation. And so do you keep it looking the same way, or do you adjust that personnel set? I personally would adjust some things a little bit, even if it's, I trust both JD Bertrand and Drew White in the pass game a little bit more than I do Bo Bauer, but Bo Bauer's kind of been the flavor of the nickel. So, how are they going to go about it? They've had 2 weeks to think about it. They've been thinking about it more than just the 2 weeks as well to go up against this USC offense. And so what does that look like? Again, I would not be surprised, although part of me would be that to see if they bring in one of the freshmen. I get it. And it would be interesting to see.
And I'm also interested. Brian Kelly touched on this. He was talking about, man, we have to be better. His word was nuance, right? We worked on the nuances of the defense, certain parts of the field, and not getting caught off guard and being in the right spot. Just say situational football. You worked on situational football from the defensive side of the ball, and you worked on how teams are now attacking you, and you want to be able to react better to what they're doing. And saying that, when you think about USC, I think it was running back Keontae Ingram this week told the USC press, yeah, we have to be more creative on offense. I'm like, man, they're saying that everywhere else too, huh? But I've heard media say that covers Notre Dame. I don't think I've ever heard anybody in the Notre Dame locker room publicly say that about the offense. To have a player publicly say, we have to be more creative offensively, that's pretty much telling you, look, we look for Drake London, and then if we don't have him, then we find somebody else, and every now and then, there's a running back next to me. Let me just hand it to him and see what he can do. So that is what you're facing. You're facing an offense that has no identity, a lack of creativity. And Vince, my question, and maybe you can help me out. I thought Marcus Freeman panicked as a coordinator against Virginia Tech. I think because he wasn't getting the pressure that he was used to, his team was tired.
Yeah.
The front seven was tired. He forced the issue blitzing just a little bit too much. And when you blitz and you have guys that are half a step slower and just a little tired, they're not as disciplined. And that's why you saw the quarterbacks for Virginia Tech be able to get out the backside. And you saw the loss of contain over and over again. And Notre Dame ended up getting hurt when they blitzed, especially in the second half. So I'm very interested in the patience that Marcus Freeman is going to show as a defensive coordinator, especially in this game, because I believe the combination of your front four or your outside linebackers, however you want to play Isaiah Foskey, hand in the ground or standing up, they can get out after this offensive front.
Yeah, absolutely.
They can consistently get after this offensive front in the run game and the pass game. You don't have to blitz as much with your linebackers. So now it goes to your point. How well will the linebackers be in their drops?
Right.
Because this is a game where you might say, Cam, every now and then we'll let you bump and run with Drake London. Maybe on a third down if we want to bring some pressure. But what we're going to do, you play off coverage, 5 yards off, but that's your guy. Everybody else, we're dropping, we're taking away this middle, we're taking away his second and third option, and we're going to force them to take baby steps down the field because we know if they do get to the red zone, they self-destruct.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you be patient as a coordinator, Marcus Freeman, to go ahead and implement that when it might go against your natural inclination to be aggressive, because it might be the best way to handle USC's offenses. I'll be very interested in seeing how Marcus Freeman, handles this game from a schematic standpoint. Is he just going to be true to himself and say, hey, we're coming after them, we're going to be ourselves? Or is he going to take a step back and say, you know what? We're going to force them to be patient and not give them the opportunity to have big plays because that's what they want.
Yeah. No, you know what? That's a really interesting take because I think that could be very beneficial to Notre Dame to allow USC to basically make their own mistakes and don't help them. You know what I mean? Don't help them with the big plays, right? Because you're right when you say that when you bring blitzes, you leave holes, and USC does have enough dudes where they can exploit those holes.
Right.
You give them that opportunity. Now, you don't want to give them a bunch of those opportunities, right?
Right.
But if you give them enough, they're going to hit one.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got guys that can make plays. And so staying back and keeping everything in front, kind of a Bob Diaco type, idea, keep everything in front and make them make a mistake. Against a team like this who is prone to making mistakes, I feel like there's an opportunity there for Notre Dame to pounce on those mistakes. I mean, they've already thrown 7 interceptions, which puts them, 90 plus. They're 93rd in the country because they've thrown 7 interceptions.
Yeah.
But they put the ball up a lot. So, I mean, they have a lot of opportunities to do so. But, yeah, they're going to make mistakes. And I just don't want to help them with those mistakes. Does that make sense? Like, I don't want to, give them an opportunity to capitalize on Notre Dame's mistakes either.
And I think Keaton Slovis, he's played in Notre Dame Stadium. So I don't think the magnitude of the game is going to be too big for him. If you remember, he came in here, got down big early, and led USC back the last time he was in Notre Dame Stadium and made the game closer than most people thought it would be.
Right.
So it's the same thing, same makeup. We definitely should have a big lead, big double-digit lead early in this game. Now the defense gets to go eat.
Right.
Because I think the pass rush is much better. If we get out in front, if Notre Dame gets out in front in this game, I think they raise havoc and you end up seeing a young freshman coming in, which I don't even – if I'm the coach, if I'm Dante Williams, I mean, I guess you wouldn't have anybody else to go to if even Slovis struggles. But to throw your true freshman into that type of environment, unless you truly feel that he's ready to go.
Right.
But if Jackson Dart's ready to go, you play him. I think he played for Slovis the week he was out. He was hurt 3 weeks ago. Showed himself pretty well. Team's excited about him. They think he's the future. But at this point, I'm really trying, Vince. I'm trying really hard to have some argument for USC in any one of these debates, and I just don't see how they can really hurt Notre Dame at any point in this game, other than being given opportunities for big plays,
right?
And that will go into fundamentals. Like, even if they catch the ball, we have to get them on the ground.
Right. And catching the ball's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
Look, they're going to complete 65% of their passes. Okay. That's fine because they're all basically extended handoffs. I mean,
Exactly.
they're high percentage, they're going to complete passes.
Yeah.
The big thing is, can Notre Dame tackle? Can they,
Exactly.
fly to the football and not allow, them to make plays in space?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it's going to come down to. Again, keeping everything in front of them and making plays when they need to make those plays. That's
the biggest thing. We're talking, this is a game of fundamentals. It's not too hard. Be physical, destroy the offensive front, rattle the quarterback, tackle.
Right.
Tackle their skill guys. And that's it. And eventually they will self-destruct.
Yep.
Well, they'll find a way.
Absolutely.